Following the release of the first Strike decks, there are now 42 legal heroes within the Commoner format, soon to be 45 with the release of Rosetta. And as a non-rotational format, that number is only going up. Now, some of the heroes are pretty amazing, others not so much. And yes, there's tier lists, but there are also players who enjoy playstyles. That's right, the class loyalists. So today, let's cover the top heroes from each class within the Commoner format. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, my flesh and blood friends. Welcome back to another installment of Dice Commando here on the channel. And thanks so much for tuning in today. We are talking the best hero for each class in Commoner. Now, if you are familiar with the format, you're aware that certain classes have advantages like, I don't know, Ninja. Ninja are very consistently good. Not only do they have a good loadout, they have the Kodachis. They really bring a lot of value to the table in a value format. But there are tier lists, and then there are folks who play something like Commoner because it's freaking awesome, right? And you might be a class loyalist, Brute Nation, or maybe you're an Illusionist, or maybe you're a Runeblade, or whatever it may be. You want to know, hey, if I want to show up to this event, what's the best hero of my class that I can bring? So that's what we're doing today, is talking the best hero in each class, regardless of where that class may fall within the overall competitiveness of the format. Now, first up are our brutes. Now, we are going in release order. You can see my nice graphic over there. Put way too much work into this, but I'm very, very, very excited about this one. Now, first up are our brutes. Now, before I show you the best one, let's just be honest with ourselves. If you're a real brute, you're running OG Kayo, right? Let's roll some dice. Let's hit some 5s and some 6s, or not, and just move on with our lives, right? That's real embodiment of brutation. That said, if you want to show up and have a good day in terms of logging the wins, you might have a better day the other way. But if you're having a good day in terms of logging the wins, you got to go with Rhinar, right? The OG, who then popped back up in heavy hitters. Intimidate is very, very, very strong in this format. Specifically, I kind of already hinted at the ninjas. The ninjas do a very value-based game. They can go Kodachi. In a lot of cases, you'll see them play 2 D-reacts a turn. They're chock full of D-reacts in their deck. Many of the builds are anyway. And that's why Intimidate can become very valuable, is if you get the right one, they then have to either not block or block very suboptimally, and then perhaps maybe not get full use out of their hand in terms of how they were trying to maximize that, because a lot of what they're trying to do from a value standpoint is defend, right? So cards like the Club is good. Cards like Bonebreaker Bellow, stuff like that, where you can guarantee your Intimidates. Pack Hunt's a common. Lots of very cool ways you can go. The Wind-Up series, by the way, totally works with him. Into Claws. Very, very, very good options for Rhinar, and that's why he is, hands down, in my opinion, the best brute within the Commoner format. Right? That's no hate on Levia. She's very, very cool, and she's actually getting better. But Rhinar right now, with the Intimidates and then the bonuses off the Intimidate, it's the way to go within the format. Next up, now, if you saw my video last week, this should not come as a surprise to you. Brand new Terra. Terra is easily, in my opinion, he's not yet completely proven, but the math is there in a value format. Terra is 100%, in my opinion, the best Guardian within the format. Bravo, as again, if you are someone who's watched this channel a lot, I used to play to very success. I took it to the top table in Queenstown for the gold foil event. My Pump Thump Bravo list, very, very good, and Terra just does it a million times better. Being able to defend, make that, and then come in with a Concuss or a Thump, well, that's very good. It's not very good. It's incredibly good. Okay, so even though he doesn't necessarily have the entire, what we would consider to be the entire Earth package revealed yet, we would expect more Blue Earths to come, at least a couple, right, would be coming in Rosetta. Even today, I believe him to be the best Guardian within the format. So much so that I've actually gone back and completely redesigned my Bravo deck because, well, Terra just runs that deck better. So you got to do something else with Bravo. Now, ninjas, this one shouldn't come as a shock to anyone. Ira Crimson Haze, the OG of the OG heroes, right? The learn to play hero. She's crazy good. Her with Kodachis alone is a pretty major non-consumable value engine. But that +1 on the second swing really puts your opponent in hard spots. You have stuff like Bittering Thorns that can then put that pressure on to make something potentially a 3. You also can do tricky stuff where you put like a 3 that has an on hit as the second one. Well, now it's coming in for a breakpoint on hit. Crazy strong. Crazy strong Ira. I mean, she has the entire ninja package, as I mentioned earlier or alluded to earlier. The ninja class as a whole is very strong. And Ira, without a doubt, is that way. Benji, you look at something like Benji. Benji's very good, but he gets the +1 on a hit. Ira just gets it and doesn't start with a -3 health penalty. Very good. Very good. Now, moving into the Warriors, this one is an interesting debate because coming out of heavy hitters, the Decimator Olympia was actually making waves in top tier. I don't believe him to be in that space anymore today. And furthermore, when I go and I look at just a pure value format, and yes, I'm certainly biased, this is my favorite hero of all time. When I look at overall value, it's Kassai. Now, I do want to be very clear about something. In fact, if we wanted to be fair, we could just put the Decimator Great Axe here instead of Kassai, because there's very good Dorinthea builds out there, there are very good Olympia builds out there. But I personally still think that Kassai, the dual swing, front back swing Kassai is really good. She also gets a free turn off of the Blood Run Wine card. She can just throw that out and the next turn defend her whole hand and still come in for a dual attack. That's if you have to defend full. She's very good. She's extremely consistent and put on all sorts of pressure. Now, the Mechanologist, I don't think this one's really any surprise. OG Dash is just, I cannot say enough good things about this hero in terms of the ability for a new player to come in and pick up the game. Very intuitive, very straightforward, but there are a lot of different ways you can go on this. Now, I do want to give a head nod to Database Dash. Database Dash is super, super cool in terms of what it can do, trying to land on hits with the boom grenades. It's a super fun deck, but it just doesn't have the raw direct output power and the same level of consistency that Dash does. So what you do with Dash is you start her with a hyper boost build, you start her with a hyper driver in play. You play a bunch of the crankshafts and stuff like that either get a benefit from or put counters on that hyper driver to keep it going, and you just run. You just run and you boost, and they either fatigue you out or they go down. It's generally how it works. Now, Ranger, I already clicked. I have Lexi out there. Now, I want to be very clear. This one is a very tight race between the three currently, and by the three, I do mean Lexi, Riptide, and Azalea. It's a very tight race. The reason I went with Lexi, and I do want to give a shout out to Sean. I pinged this off him. I was like, what do you think? We had a good discussion about it. We did agree that Lexi was probably the best, primarily just because she has access to more cards that the others don't, right? She has access from a pure technical standpoint in the commoner format. She has access to everything that the other two Rangers have. Plus, she has the elemental cards. And if you actually go and look at like the ice type build with Shiver, right? Because Shiver has on-demand dominate. And if you go look at a lot of the ice cards in terms of disruption, a lot of them are commons that she still has access to. So you can land those chilling ice veins or whatever it may be and really play more of a disruption pattern. Because Azalea doesn't have on hits. Azalea doesn't have the on hits that she needs to be as disruptive as she is in the other formats. So in this case, your disruption is really slowing them down instead of trying to actually like screw with them. And that's why we've gone with Lexi. Okay. Now, as far as the Runeblades go, the Runeblades actually struggle a little bit. The Runeblades in general, as a class, struggle a little bit just because of card access and consistency, right? If you look at Viserai or if you look at Briar, all of them are playing Rosetta Thorn, by the way, because why would you not? And we also have Aurora. Aurora is completely untested, but I think she's a little bit too much of a glass cannon. And that's why we have to go with Chane, right? So Chane also has taken down 2 major gold foil events across the world. I want to say one was like 3 months ago in Europe, and then this latter, actually 2 weekends ago at this point, it took down the gold foil commoner event at Pro Tour Amsterdam on Chane. So Chane can definitely do things. The Shrill package where Shrill can come in with the boost when you give it the go again just by Chane doing his thing. That's pretty good with go again into a Rosetta. So you really just need to fish out, you need to keep a blue somewhere to be able to do Shrill Rosetta, and then you need to fish out a pump. In many cases, those pumps like a Nimbleism or something like that actually feed Shrill because Shrill has the base that's lower. Very, very, very strong. And then you've got Seeds of Agony on top of it. Cannot say enough good things about Chane. And it's another one of those kind of glass cannon type decks where it goes, and then all of a sudden you start milling yourself. So you do it one way or the other, and the game ends, and then you go fist bump your buddy and go talk and have a good time. Right, moving into the Wizards, this one is a slam dunk, no question here, Iyslander. Iyslander is easily a top tier hero, will likely always remain as such. I certainly hope as such. I don't want to see someone power creeping on that one. And yes, we do have 2 more Wizards coming in the next set, right? We have Azalea and we have Verdance. Lightning Wizard could do things, right? There are a fair number of very interesting Lightning cards that he could play like a mix. Azalea could play a mixed damage deck. But I really just see the disruption coming from Iyslander to be super strong, Waning Moon, consistently good, legal in the format. The Boltyn build is, I mean, obviously not as good without Channel Lake and stuff like that in Commoner, but it's really good in Commoner. Snapback's legal. You can do some pretty crazy things. So Iyslander, 100% the right hero there. So coming to the Illusionist. Now, I think it's very important to go ahead and put the class as a whole in terms of context before we reveal the best hero. Now, historically, we've had Prism for a long time. She's played a Pommel Herald build. So she has obviously her big efficient 2 7s, 2 5s, whatever it may be. Now, what's interesting on this is because she does not have access to Luminaris, she was playing like a red-blue build, and it's very effective when it's effective, and it of itself has really changed the meta. You do not go to very few people go to commoner events without some sort of Pauper's Plan within their sideboard, right? So that's been a very interesting thing to keep in note because it's always kind of there in the meta, and it changes those things. We also have Dromai. Dromai also has access to like the Senepais and stuff like that, which are very effective, but she doesn't have access to the dragons. So what she has to do is like really kind of like rely on those Senepais, go kind of like a pseudo modified Empress build, try and use those Rake the Embers in game, and this kind of overwhelm the opponent. And Dromai's really historically struggled because, some Guardian Pauper or something like that can really disrupt and ruin that pop-off chain, right, that she's trying to do with her dragons. But now enters, that's right, the new best, Young Enigma. So a lot of shout out here to Jesse Hurt. This is the first, to my knowledge, this was the first big win that we've seen on this. He took this to the U.S. Nationals Gold Foil event, which was about a month and change ago at this point, running Reality Fractor Enigma. Very, very, very strong deck. It's actually very scary as this continues to develop. The ward is very interesting, right? It doesn't have access to kind of the crazy ward stuff, but it's still out there, still absorbs those hits. Going to struggle largely into the multi-hit stuff, which the ninjas can present, but the fact that it can just do that, which is of itself a defense and becomes a weapon that you can then swing for 5, plus whatever counters are on top of that, is very, very, very strong, right? So I will link right up here Jesse's video. Please go check it out. He does a full recap of his deck, and that's really just the starting point for where I think folks are eventually going to go with their Illusionist. All right, next up, New. New is the best assassin. Assassins have, let's just be honest, assassins have struggled in the commoner format overall. We had Arachne come out in Dynasty. I tried to get him to work. It was okay, but your plan had to really be fatigue, but then you'd run up against Ira, and like your daggers are just not as effective as, and I shouldn't say Ira, any ninja. Your daggers just aren't as effective. They can block 4s because they run a bunch of D-reacts. It becomes really hard for Arachne to do what he wanted to do. We then, of course, had Uzri. Uzri just has a massive lack of effective 6s to flip into in terms of the disruption that she needs. So she was really just dead on arrival there. There's a little better performance in Arachne ASC, but without the Spike Whiff line, because the Spike Whiff line is all rare, Arachne really struggled. But enter New now, very strong commoner hero, has a whole, right, Hiss and Fang Strike are all, I think Fang Strike's the... Either way, the 2 1/3s that came out, very good reacts on that. She uses, again, a bunch of the original cards as well. Now, keep in mind, her specific reacts have to be on Mystic cards. So she's not necessarily doing the chi thing as reliable as she might like in a normal constructed format. But she has lots of reacts available. Plus, we have Intimate Inducement, which can go snipe against the right deck, can go snipe the card that they need, potentially getting, like, let's say a blue 0, shutting off the Kodachi turn for the ninjas, making them do some other plan. Very, very, very awesome. She's really improved the viability of the Illusionist class overall. And then last up, we have, that's right, the Merchant class. Well, now there's only 2 of them, aren't there? But if we're being, and actually Genus is not legal. Either way, Cavdane's the right answer. And that's not just by, well, it is by default. It is. But there's actually some interesting Cavdane decks out there. He can do kind of a plug along, plot along, defensive, life gain thing. But then his real play, his kind of only play, is Slogism. Right? Slogism slog, trying to do some big dominate at the end. The reality is that, the sad reality is that the vast majority of other classes like Guardian do what he wants to do better. But that doesn't mean that if you're not a Cavdane main or whatever it may be, right? Adam, shout out to Adam. Adam's brought Cavdane to commoner events and did not go over on the day, right? So anyway, that is your list. Now, again, as we've gone through this, I've kind of given probably more information than you wanted to know on how all the classes break down. But let me know below, do you disagree with my comment, right? Terra, he hadn't even really out. I'm already calling him as, I mean, he's out, but he hasn't really been developed fully. I'm still calling him number 1. Do you agree or disagree with that? How about my warrior friends who are real decimator hard? Do you disagree with that? I don't know. How about the Rangers? How about that? Anyway, let me know in comments below, folks. Thanks for joining for a super fun episode. I enjoyed this one. That's why I put way too much work into the graphics. Oh, let me know below. Did you enjoy the graphics? Nothing else, friends. Go Commando.